The underlying messages in our culture are everyone needs to be thinner, losing weight cures self-hatred, and you're fat because basically you're stupid. Because when you start looking at, people are kind of really talked down to like, oh, you eat that, you don't work out like this, so they start making you feel like guilt tripping you all the time, and you start really doubting yourself, and you feel, okay, I don't look good, I don't eat right, I don't act good, and you start getting really anxious. And when I say skinny bitches, I'm not referring to thinness, I'm referring to the worshiping of thinness. So like that people who judge other people by their weight or how they eat, and that goes across all sizes and weights. We learn from doctors, magazines, health class, that no fat, low carb, low calorie is the only way to be healthy. So when I started to say, okay, I'm going to write this book that goes against that, I said, well, I don't want people to get health problems and I cause them and everything. So I started looking into what's the research that really exists on why you're supposed to eat low fat, why you're supposed to eat low calorie, and why you're supposed to eat low carb. And I was blown away by what I found. And I was like, you know what, everyone needs to find out about this information. My doctor skipped over it somehow, but Gary Taubes in the magazine Science, which is really the top research journal in any field of science, his quote is, 50 years and hundreds of millions of dollars of research have failed to prove that low-fat diets will help you live longer. Does anyone know this? People don't think that. They think, oh, good, I got to eat low fat. I did good because I ate this and it didn't have fat. And they're not even realizing that that's not even beneficial for their health. And everyone's saying it's so important, but there's very little evidence of this. There was a study done in 2007 that looked at all the studies of dieting that were ever done. And they found that dieters initially lost 5 to 10% of their original body weight. But after 2 years, 83% gained more than they originally started their diet at. That's 83%. And I remember when my publisher was publishing this, they edited it, and they edited it to 38 instead of 83. They go, you must have missed, you must have, switched the numbers. I'm like, no, it's 83. And so, isn't that startling? But what does everyone want to do? Go on a diet. But they don't want to call it a diet anymore, okay? Because people realize that diets fail, so they go, it's not a diet, so your doctor says, don't go on a diet, go on a lifestyle change. So this means you go on a diet and you never go off it, which is the same results as going on a diet, because it's a diet. The more rigid, restrictive, unenjoyable, and guilt-ridden your lifestyle change is, then the more it is a diet. The next step is restricting food causes hunger to build. So many people struggle with binge eating, and now they start to feel ashamed when they eat. So the shame comes if you ever don't follow the way you tell yourself, okay, I'm supposed to do this. I'm never supposed to eat fats. I'm going to cut back my calories. I'm supposed to not eat these certain foods because they taste too good, so I got to eat things that taste like cardboard only. And then if you do ever enjoy food, you start to feel ashamed, like something's really wrong with you. I've had kids, just being a psychologist with eating disorders, I'll have junior highs call me sometimes and say, there was a little boy that got teased for his weight. Now he won't eat in the cafeteria. No one could see him eat. And it makes me really upset, as you can see, because why should he feel ashamed to eat? Because he's fat? Well, do you think he deserves food? It's just a horrible way it affects people, and this shame I think, it just cripples people. It makes them feel horrible about themselves. Now your self-esteem plummets, you're trapped, you're preoccupied, because when you don't eat, now you're obsessed with eating. It's kind of a adaptive biology for us, because if any living being is deprived of food, it will seek out that food. It's like part of how we survive. Your body is programmed that way so that you will become preoccupied with food if you don't get enough. So now people gain weight and they have a sense of failure, because binging is like It comes out of hunger. People don't think it does. They feel so guilty, like if they eat more than they thought they should, they don't realize, like, that's survival. That's adapting to your environment because you're a living being. Living beings will seek out food. I don't care if it's a dog, a person, a horse. I mean, you starve it, it will seek out food and become obsessed with it. So now you're either good or bad thinking. Either I did good today or I am a horrible, worthless person who no one will ever love. So which day is it, right? So then I kind of put that into a cycle because now you're still feeling fat and you go back through the whole thing again. And people can go through this for a lifetime. And I'm kind of hoping we can start empowering people to get off of this because it's like kind of a vicious cycle. And where does it lead to? Usually weight gain. So that's very disturbing because that's the very thing that's driving people to want to do this in the first place, is to be a lower weight. And then it backfires. So the self-esteem of millions of kids who are lifestyle changing because their doctor told them to, what kind of life are they going to have? Children and teens are greatly affected by these concerns. Teens and preteens who worried about weight, weighed themselves frequently, and forced themselves to eat less, at 5-year follow-up gained 15 pounds more than other teens. Does that make you so angry? Because that's what it makes me. Because some doctor or parent or kids at school or something they read in magazines set these kids off, make them feel bad about themselves, and now here they are, 15 pounds heavier than if they just would have played outside and ate their Cheetos. One of the best things, I think, if you want to diagnose if you're struggling with an eating disorder is what percentage of your day do you spend thinking about food, weight, and body image? To me, that's a much more helpful than looking at these characteristics for anorexia, bulimia. This is what we treat in the hospital or in outpatient, like trying to become less preoccupied with this. Imagine all the brain power we could use to feed the hungry, create world peace, cure cancer, stop global warming. Instead, we want to make sure our damn thighs don't touch. So we have to keep on working on it. This is my opinion of what eating disorders are. When you do this technique, again, a lot of you guys, being college students, you have so much information about science and what it is. So you factor analyze, it's called, the tests that look at eating disorders. These are the factors, the main clusters that go together underneath eating disorders. The first one is drive for thinness, okay? Always kind of wanting to go, I gotta get thin, I gotta get thin. Preoccupation, fear of eating and being overweight. So like thinking about it all the time, like I said in my last slide, and just a lot of anxiety about what you're eating or what you look like. You know, we've got to start letting people know they're beautiful for every size.